So hello and welcome to another episode of Bauer Ls2. We start this video where we left off in the last video. It is Wednesday the 30th of April. It is 10 minutes past 8 at night and we have just literally shut the store. I still actually have to put the shutter down. We've been in the process of cashing up and getting ready to go home, or Pamela's been in the process of cashing up and going home. I have started doing work already on stuff that I've got to do for the weekend, and I've also had to do what I alluded to earlier on in the video, or last video. I'm kind of getting myself confused because it was early. I still think it's like the last video, it's now this video. So anyway, I've marked a set of steels that have to have some work done on them. The customer in question has bought a pair of skates from the clan sale, and he's bought a pair of Cole Yearly's Pro model skates, and he has brought me a set of steels which do not fit. They are the correct size for the holders, but they actually don't fit because it's a power fly holder that's on the skate, and it's not a lightspeed holder that's on them. So if we can have a quick look at them here, you can see the darker area here. This is the area of the steel which I'm going to have to remove. And yes, I'm probably going to get into a lot of bother for doing this because I have actually used a template from another steel manufacturer's steel to be able to cut that area of the steel out. Now I know that works because I've done it before for other steels. I've done it for Matt Haywood's, but what I did for Matt Haywood's steels at the original time that I done them was as I chamfered them the same way that these holders here, they're smaller than the inside part or the middle part. I chamfered them so he would be able to use his old steels in his skates, but this time what I've decided to do to make life a little bit easier for myself is just grind that metal away completely. So that metal will be getting taken off of these skates, and that will allow me access to be able to use these steels in these skates. So again, this isn't a thing that we actually properly offer. This is a trial and error thing, and obviously I have to be very, very careful that one, I don't make any mistakes on the steels because it could ruin a set of steels, and two, I don't want to overheat them and then end up warping the steel or causing any problems with the steel being brittle. So yes, this is a trial and error, and we'll see how it goes. If it goes wrong, then we will probably end up having to replace the set of steels, but hopefully that is not the case. So the next thing you're probably going to see is me doing a little bit of work on the cross grind. So I will try and get myself set up and get you guys set up in a time lapse, and we'll see how long it's going to take me to get a little bit of steel taken off of these. Right, so the idea that I've actually had is to put them in the holder in reverse and try and see if I can do a little bit of work on them that way. That means that when they actually start to get relatively warm, I won't have to burn my hands. So I'm going to try it this way and see how it goes, and then if that doesn't work, I'll probably try and just do it a little bit at a time just to make sure that they don't overheat. But this should stop this from happening as well, because I'm only going to do a small amount of grinding every single time I actually touch them off the cross grind. So it's one of these ones where I am probably going to have to change the cross grind after this, because the amount of excessive grinding that's going to have to get done on the steels. As we can probably see just now, the cross grind is looking pretty sorry for itself. It's getting to the end of its life, or that's what I would say. It's kind of getting to the end of its life. Other people will probably find that they'll take the guard off and cross grind without it, but I would rather have the guard there because the cross grind is rather dangerous. Not necessarily as dangerous as sharpening without the guard for the sharpening machine. When I was younger, when we first had the store, someone bumped into me when they were walking past, and I actually never had the guard at the time. This is when we were waiting on the stock coming from Blade Master, because we didn't have a top cover and we didn't have a guard at the time. And when I was in the process of resetting the stone, and I actually put my thumb into the side of the machine and ended up sharpening my thumb to a quarter, which was not nice. So anyway, right, let me get set up and we'll go and we'll do a little bit of this just now. Well, so far so good. The only thing I would probably say is we're having a little issue is the cross grind is actually running so low that I'm going to have to change and put a different cross grind in, a new disc, because we're hitting off of this part and there's not enough clearance on that. But as we can see, it's actually coming down quite well. I have stopped doing it at the moment. I'm going to let it cool down. There was only a couple of seconds on time lapse that you would have seen, but it was probably a couple of minutes of grinding. Now if you do a little bit of grinding on them and then let them cool down, they should be absolutely fine. I have done this multiple times and I've found that it doesn't really weaken them that much. Obviously it's a slightly different thing actually doing them this way instead of doing them in the outside of this part here. I would imagine that the steels are actually in relatively good condition, and I mean what I would say about that is that I would imagine that the steels are actually good condition because they're relatively new steels. I mean, fair enough, they have been rockered, but at the same point, if you look at the back of them, they have been profiled slightly, but they are still in perfectly good shape, and they don't look as if they're anywhere near half as brittle as some of the other steels that I have seen in the store. So I will go back to working on this and then come back to you once this is finished. I won't bore you with the time lapse, but I'll be back in a couple of seconds. So as I alluded to, that I would be having to change the cross grind just to kind of give you a kind of indication of what a new cross grind looks like to one that's maybe a couple of weeks old. This is the old one and this is the new one. So you're actually probably seeing that there is at least, let's see if I can find a ruler. You've got about half an inch missing, but that half an inch, insert jokes now, that half an inch will help in one way, shape or another. And what I mean by that is it will allow me more purchase and to be able to get into this area here at the side. I don't want to run on the old cross grind because it means that I then have to change everything around about to be able to get access to it. So with a little bit more length on the new cross grind disc or wheel, whatever you want to call it, it will allow me to get that finished and then I'll go back to the old one. So in the words of Bauer, great success. We have managed to get the Pulse TI steel to fit into the Powerfly holder. Now what we actually tried to do and what we had a look at, we think there is a problem with this holder. It won't sit with the blade in it. And what it sits like, it sits a bit further back, so you can see how much it's actually moving. That's what it sits like when there's a blade in it. So I think the new owner of the skates has tried to put these steels into that holder and damaged it, which is probably a holder off job, which means I'm going to probably have to remove this holder and change the mechanism. I think it's over pressured the mechanism, like the one that you maybe have seen in Tony's skates, which means that the mechanism has to be changed out. And we'll see if we can get that done, and if that's the case we'll get it done as soon as possible. But I think for tonight that's basically, I'm quite happy with the fact that I've managed to get that to fit. Now yes, you can see there is a little bit of daylight just underneath there, but that is exactly the same as some of the other multi-fit steels that are out on the market. Now the other multi-fit steels have a cutout specifically, and I'll actually show you what the cutout looks like on these. So if you bear with me just a couple of seconds, I'll set you up just there. So we'll take these steels out and I'll show you. If you look now, this is what the cutout looks like. I managed to cut this area out on the cross grind, and I have to do the same again on these ones. Now the modification aspect that I've made is I've made this one slightly longer and it works a lot better. Now if I went with exact measurements, it was slightly too tight and it was fouling on the actual holder itself. So what I'm going to do is make it slightly bigger on this variant here. So again, this is just something that the customer asked me if I could do and was willing to give it a try. So it's not necessarily a quick fix. It could make the steels brittle. I'm not 100% sure. There obviously has to be testing involved in that. If there is, say for example, a puck coming across and hitting the side of the steel, it could now be brittle to the point where it will break the steel. I'm not 100% sure. So one of these things I have to kind of cover myself and say these things, it's the customer has asked me to do this to his steel. It's not me that's decided to do this to the steel off my own back. He has asked for it and knows that there could be risks. So anyway, I'm going to get on and do some more work on these and see what else happens or what else has to happen. Now, I'm going to go do the second one right now. So it's 9:25 and I've finally finished the work that I did on the steels. I've now got both sets of steels in place. Now, one of the things I am going to show you, just let me prop you down here for a little second to take this out. The modification aspect of what I've had to do to change to get the steels to fit, I've obviously had to modify this channel and cut this channel out, and then I've obviously had to modify to make this channel slightly wider. The reason for that is, if you actually look at the holder, it's slightly different in the inside here, and obviously the middle section is more narrower. Now this is just the fact that I'm trying to save the customer a little bit of money, and I've obviously done this job for him. It's obviously not going to be free, I'm obviously doing the job because I'm going to get paid for doing it, but I have done it to the best of my abilities and managed to make a set of steels fit that don't actually fit in that holder. So we will see how long these steels last. If they manage to last them the length of the time that he has the boot, then great. If he goes on the ice and they break within the first time that a puck hits them, again also great, because it then means that we then know not to do this again if that is the case. So I then also have these steels here that all have to be sharpened. I'm going to try and see if I can get a head start on Friday. I'm actually not in the store tomorrow, but I actually still have work to do. So I may end up having to come in tomorrow if I have time. If I don't have time, I'll just come in on Friday and do a little bit more work then. So the main kind of culprit that's going to keep me back on Friday or tomorrow is to try and see if I can get these tongues issued back into these skates. Now the tongue, the toe box itself is very, very brittle, and it looks as if it's not exactly in the greatest of condition. Now if the skate itself has a major issue, the only other option that I have is to maybe consider putting different toe box into the skate. And I don't really want to have to do that because the skate is slightly older. It's going to cause a lot of problems and a lot of issues. If the skate itself is totally damaged, and when I go to try and put this in, the best situation for this skate would be to take the chassis off and put it onto a different skate. Now I actually know that the player in question, or the owner of these inlines, he does have a spare pair of skates, and that might be a last resort that he has to use his spare skates as his new inlines basically. So we will see how that goes on Thursday or Friday when I come back in the store, but for tonight that is me finished. I will not bore you with the sharpenings that I've got to do, I will not time lapse them, but anyway, I will go and I will see you then. So I'm not long home for training. It is 12:35, it is Friday the 2nd of May, and I mean AM, and I am actually working, believe it or not. I actually have, let me see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think about 7 sets of steels that I've got to sharpen tonight, because I've got a busy day ahead of me tomorrow. Now obviously it's tournament prep tomorrow, and there's probably going to be quite a lot of people in for skate sharpening, I would imagine, because we have got the Dumfries Bowl tournament that we're going to. So with that said, I've got to try and get as much stuff done tonight, and I get ahead of myself for tomorrow, which means that I have to do all the sharpenings. Then I have to change my disc because my disc is coming to the end of its life. I have a new one sitting here. So this is what I get up to the night before we go away for a tournament. Now bear in mind, I will be in the shop from 12 PM till 5 PM. I will come home, get my machine, get my stuff, and then go straight to a tournament. Now I'm actually not working at the tournament, I'm only there as a coach for this weekend. But at the same point, I'll always take my machine with me just in case something happens, or just in case someone knocks an edge off. So I've always got it, and I've got the authorisation to sharpen in the rink because I've done a risk assessment, stuff like that, for previous years. So we're going to make sure that we've got the machine there just in case. 9 times out of 10, I probably won't need it, but it's just my way of thinking. So we have this tournament tomorrow, and then we have another tournament on the 24th and 25th of the end of the month, which is obviously the Scottish Cup tournament, which I will have my machine at as well, hopefully. Now I have still got to find out where, when, how that I'm going to be able to do sharpenings, if I'm allowed to do sharpenings in that arena or in that rink, because there is another store in there. I'm only doing it for myself, or only doing it for my team, not doing it for anyone else, but we'll see if we're allowed to do it or not. Anyway, I'll go on, do these, I might come back, see you later on. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. So that's me finished. It is 1:38 AM on Friday the 2nd of May. If you're wondering what I'm looking at my phone, which is there with the time and date on it. I have managed to get all of the steels finished. Now, what I will say is, with regards to the steels aren't even for my team. They're for North Air Junior Development. Now, they have asked me to obviously sharpen their steels for them, but I don't know how busy I'm going to be tomorrow, so I wanted to try and get ahead of myself for tomorrow. Now, bearing in mind that it is 1:39 AM, you'll probably find I'll still be awake about 3 or 4 AM because I've still got some more stuff to do. I've got some emails to reply to, I've got some messages to reply to. Yes, I am a bit of a night owl, but anyway, the skate sharpening machine is now packed up and ready to go. It's got its new disc on, it has been cleaned for the second time this week, which I know probably someone will make a comment about the fact why don't I clean it more often. It doesn't really get used that much at home, if I'm being honest. There has maybe 1 or 2 times where it's actually used when someone can't make it to the store, but predominantly it's the main machine that I use is the one in the store. Now this one is just for me usually and the kids and Pam to be able to get our stuff done if that is the case. One of the kind of crazy things I will say, not necessarily a crazy thing, I have retired the M5 Pros for the moment, so these will now look more than likely become inlines, which means that yes, I am in the Drews with the new tongues. That was the second skate I had in them tonight and they were really good. Very stiff, but I was finding that I didn't have to horse my skates up as tight as possible like I was doing in the M5 Pros to get the support. The addition of the Pro Custom tongue that's been put into them just totally changed the dynamic of the skate and has made it so that I don't have to have them mega tight. The support is just there and it hugs my foot just the way it's meant to. So I'm really pleased with that. So hopefully we'll be looking for another pair of them possibly, or we'll be looking for another variant of the True Skate in the future, I would imagine. Now, best case scenario for us is we come into millions of money and then we become the UK distributor for True, if that would be the case, or someone else takes on the distribution rights for True in the UK, which again would be very nice. It would mean that we wouldn't have to try and import from Germany. I don't mean the store having to import from Germany or wherever, I mean myself personally. I actually had to buy them through a different website from Europe and I managed to get them at a really good deal. Now, you would think that obviously the guy that owns the store will have access to all sorts of skates. Well, like we've said multiple times, we actually can't get my size through any of the suppliers at the moment. And there's nothing really that I would be looking to skate in at the moment. Now, we've spoke about me going into a pair of Graf Ultra Cs to try them as well at some point, but unfortunately the Graf Ultra Cs are maybe a month or 2 away for me to be able to get, because as far as I'm aware they're going to have to be made for me. Now, I don't think it's one of these ones where it's going to be custom, it's just going to be the case that I will tell them the size I'm looking for and they will manufacture the skate. That's not necessarily ideal, but it's ideal at the moment that I have the M5 Pros as my spare skate and obviously the Trues, which are literally brand new. They've only been skated in maybe about 6 times at the moment. The honeymoon period is still going strong at the moment with the Trues, but we'll see how that goes. I've got some more custom work that's going to be having to be done tomorrow as well. Just to quickly show you this, I might actually come back and show you this when we're in the store tomorrow as well. I have notoriously bad knees from years of dislocating my knee and ligaments and cartilage damages and stuff like that. So what we have here is a Shock Doctor bilateral hinge support, which I wear religiously when I skate on my worst knee. But what's actually happened with it is Pam put it in the washing machine and then put it into the tumble dryer and it melted off the Velcro. So I'm now going to have to take that apart and put some new Velcro on it. The other one that I have, which has decent Velcro on it, the strap actually broke on it tonight, or the buckle specifically. As we can see, the buckle here, this one is broken, so I'm going to have to replace that as well. So the store will be smelling lovely tomorrow with my wet knee brace. With regards to the North Air Sharpmans, there was, let me see, 1, 3, 5, 7. So there was 7 sharpenings that had to be done. All of my team stuff has been done, all of the spare steels that are waiting at the front door to leave tomorrow with me. There's a pair of goalie skates that are leaving with me tomorrow and 2 pairs of steels, and there may be more stuff in tomorrow as well, so we never know. Anyway, I will go now. It's 1:44 AM. It's time for me to get my head down. Afternoon, it is 12:48 in the afternoon. No, it's not just us getting in the store at this time. This is... What are you playing at? No, this is not us just getting in the store. I have been in the store from probably about 12:05. So we've already had 3 or 4 sharpenings that have been in, and I'm just about to get myself set up to do some custom work on my own stuff. As I said last night on the video that I made in the shed, this is the clip that is here. This is the one that is missing, so I'm going to have to go and have a little look and see if I have anything in my bag of tricks that can be able to go on that. The other one is a job for Pamela, but if it just depends if she's got the brain capacity today. She's going to have to do some sewing on the sewing machine to add a little bit of Velcro onto these parts here, so that I can then use my semi-new knee brace instead of the old one that is hanging in bits. So I've had a look in my bag of tricks and I've managed to find a clip like this. This is one of the ones that you get from like clips and buckles and stuff like that I bought off of Amazon. The reason why I bought them is because you usually find that they're quite good for goalie equipment. So they actually have the 3-prong clips as well, and we've got some of these buckles that we can actually put on. So what I've done so far is I've split the stitching, opened that piece up, then obviously going to put this part on, and then I'm going to sew that basically with the speedy stitcher. Very, very simple, easy repair. That means that now I have a knee brace that is fully functional again. We have had a couple of customers in today, and the customers are, what would I say, they're not understanding the whole aspect of deliveries, especially with figure skates. When we say to the customer that the figure skates are going to be a certain amount of time, they are probably going to be that amount of time or more. We're finding that just now that the figure skates, we've said this multiple times, the figure skates do take a lot longer than normal because they are coming directly from the suppliers in Italy at the moment. So we are trying our hardest to try and get things, and we understand the customers' frustrations, but at the same point we can't do anything about it if we're having to order directly from Italy through our main suppliers. Well, our main suppliers are the ones that have to order through Italy. We just obviously order through them, and we have to just wait and be patient for them coming back in stock. Now obviously it does take a little bit of time, because you usually find that most of the stuff will come via road instead of through air. You'll find that most of it is freighted. It's not like flown over, it's put in the back of a van or a truck, and it is then delivered in the UK, and they drive it all the way through Europe. But anyway, I'll go on and do a little bit of this repair, get the stitching done, and I'll come back and see you. I've got a couple of sharpenings that are sitting here that have to be done. There's nothing too exciting today so far, other than I will probably maybe even get a shot of the sewing machine myself if Pamela is too busy, because I think she's got a lot of emails to reply to today and a lot of inquiries that have to be picked off as well. So I'll come back to you soon. Well, that was a relatively easy repair. As we can see, the new buckle is on the strap, and that is it, done. So we're going to go and have a wee look and see if we can get some Velcro mocked up to be able to get stitched onto the other knee brace, just so that we have a spare, because these things don't last very long. They're very, very good, but they seem to kind of deteriorate quite rapidly around about that area. So anyway, it's not really for that anyway, but it's specifically for the hinge movement. I've got it. My knees are that bad over the years that I feel like there's a bit of side to side movement, and I just feel a little bit more secure when I'm wearing something like that. But then again, it might just be in my head. You're probably talking, I've been wearing a knee brace since I was about 16 years old, so it's one of these things where it has now become a part of my equipment and it won't go away. So anyway, I'll go and get the Velcro mocked up for this, and I'll come back to see you soon. Right, so Velcro has now been set up. It is now, the template is there. It's just by chance that it's sticky Velcro, and I don't mean like it sticks to the Velcro. I mean it's got a sticky back on it, so it sticks in place while you're trying to sew it, which is quite good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself set up and then run this through the sewing machine, and then I'll come back and see you once that's finished. So Pamela's decided she's taken over because apparently she knows better. So what's actually happened here is I've tried to start stitching it together and it's jammed. So Pamela is now setting about it with a set of scissors to try and pull the thread out so that she can start stitching for me. So what's been happening? What's going on?
I don't know, it's been Why it's been a bit of
So that's 2 wee ducks that's going to have to be in the screen, I think.
yeah, something went wrong.
That's 3. You can tell Pamela's very adept or adept at sewing here. So now I understand why it wasn't working for me when Pamela set the machine up the wrong way. So
I haven't set it up the wrong
she set
way.
the machine up the wrong way to make me look like an idiot, and then she's now trying to reset it back up the right way for herself to make it look good. So anyway, I'm going to go on with another job just now while Pamela is busy, even though she stole my seat. It's absolutely fine. I've got another pair of rollerblades here that I actually showed you earlier on in the video, or in the last video. I'm going to try and put the tongue back on these. Customer in question needs these for a tournament that will be happening in, I think it's Belgium. So I'm going to try and see if I can actually utilise the original part of the toe box. I'm going to try and put that bit over the top here and sew onto that and through that and onto this part here. But I need to, for that to happen, I've got to split the two of them slightly, and then I'll see if I can get it stitched back together. Right, so we've got a test stitch here, and the test stitch seems to be working okay. So Pamela's now decided she's going to go for the big stitch on.
Try to fix the tension.
You're fixing the tension. Yeah. The tension's mounting up here to see if you can actually do this or not. That look. Such a happy person you are, Pamela.
Not the right time of the month to be happy today.
Okay. Thanks for telling us customers that. I'll be sure to make sure that stays in the video so that people can be adapted to knowing when your cycle is.
The tension's off.
Tension's off. There's plenty of tension in here, I'll tell you that. Inline update. So what I've ended up trying to do was use the broken piece of the toe box. But the toe box itself is very, very brittle. So what I've decided to do is I have added an extra slot of leather, or a piece of leather, to the actual tongue, sewn it in place with the machine so that I've got something to sew the tongue to the toe box with. So that now, instead of having just one piece, which is the felt here, you're going to obviously sandwich this part underneath, this part on top, and this bit will go on here, and then we'll be able to speedy stitch that in place. Hopefully the material for the actual toe box isn't too brittle. It is very brittle because it's an older style of skate, so I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get it sewn in okay and there's not any more damage to it. If there is more damage to that, then it looks as if the skates are going to go in the bin, and the best thing for them is take the chassis off and put them on another pair of skates. So sewing update so far, Pamela is managing to finish off the sewing on the Velcro on the knee brace because we were running out of thread. So I ran out of the heavy duty thread that I've got, but Pamela has a lot of other threads that she was using, so she's managed to use a different red thread instead of the black stuff. Apparently it will go well with my uniform since most of my stuff that I wear is red anyway. So anyway, that's it done. I'm now just about to set up and start doing a little bit of sewing. I actually tried to glue the leather to the toe box. For whatever reason, the glue will not work well with the toe box. I think it's just the toe box is just the wrong kind of material. I think it's a kind of rubbery material. So what I'm going to do next is, once Pamela is finished doing her sewing, I will get the speedy stitcher out. I'll try and see if I can get that fixed. So that's the plan. So the inlines are being a little bit more testing than they should be. As we can have a wee look here, the actual material is not holding, it's breaking off on the way through. So what I'm now going to have to do is I've actually started to sew another piece of leather underneath the piece of leather that I actually had, so that there's now leather underneath the toe box and above the toe box to sew into. I still don't think it's going to be strong enough though. I think we're going to try and do this and I can see it breaking again, which means that we might be better just taking the chassis off the skates. But I'm going to persevere and still keep going with it and see how we go. Right, so the inline saga continues. That is then finished. I say it continues, it's not continuing at all, it's finished, it's done. So anyway, as we can see, I'll just prop this up here against my Vice. So there has to be an extra piece of leather that's been added in because the tongue wasn't long enough to be able to do anything with it. So there's a piece of leather underneath here, underneath in the actual toe box as well, and it has been sewn all the way across. I couldn't glue it to anything because it wouldn't glue together, but it has been sewn in with the machine up above, and then it's been sewn in with the speedy stitcher below. So that is now nice and solid and sturdy, so hopefully that means that the customer will be able to get some extra life out of his skates. And it also means that he doesn't have to take the chassis off and put different chassis on different skates, or the chassis on different skates even. That is now that finished, so all of my jobs for today more or less are done, apart from I have one pair of skates to sharpen for the Urban Flyers, which they don't need to be done right now anyway. They can get taken next Thursday when I go to training. So everything else is just pretty much done. All I have left to do is maybe tidy up, put some stuff away, put the sewing machine away that Pamela was using last. But anyway, I'll tidy up and then I'll come back and see you before a wee sign off. Right, so it is now 5:13. I don't know if you can see that since it's quite far away, but that is us finished for today. How was the day, Pamela?
It was very busy and I was working on some team stuff for the new stuff.
That was like rubbish. So yes, the KYC announcement is coming very, very soon. You would have seen this in a previous video. There probably will be another one that we're going to be announcing. We will put up a marketing video of some description, and we'll maybe try and do some of that kind of stuff in the next couple of weeks, or the next couple of days when I get back for this tournament that we're going to. But basically what Pamela was dealing with today was sitting putting a team catalogue together, or a catalogue together, and pricing structures for the KYC product. So that then means that we can then reach out to teams, offer teams deals for sticks and stuff like that. The gloves aren't ready just yet, but they will be here next month hopefully, and then the bags should be here next month hopefully as well. So we can then obviously start looking at offering both, or all three, sticks, gloves and bags. So anyway, right, for today that's me finished. I will catch you probably at the tournament. If not, I will see you in the next video. Take it easy, keep it cold-blooded.